Modern Military Gaming. And again, it is time for that bi-weekly love of modern gaming. And with us is the command team consisting, which reminds me, sorry for cutting off and going on a squirrel moment. I have to redo the intro because, we've had some changes. But anyways, sitting with me here in the U.S. studio is Marty.
What up?
And over in sunny Florida is Big Jim Oriskany.
Hey, how you doing, everyone?
And over in merry old England is Ralph.
Yeah, folks.
And then somewhere trying to fix helicopters that college-educated officer types broke is Gaz.
Yeah, that's my problem. I'm dealing with it.
So it is now time for another exciting episode of the SITREP podcast. And we've got a lot to talk about today. There's a lot of news coming out about, what are we calling it, Cold War gone hot, Ralph?
Yeah, I would say Cold War gone hot's probably the best description.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about that here shortly and among some other things. But, of course, as always, we like to do a quick roundabout catch-up and see what everybody's doing. And for a change, I'm going to start.
Whoa.
Because I run the microphone and the board, and I can do that. So here is what I've been up to. I painted the Ambassador on Thursday night's live stream. I think it turned out pretty good. So Ambassador Christopher Stevens is ready to rock and roll. I'm still not 100% happy with the skin tone. I'm probably going to do a little bit more work on that because it still almost looks like dead flesh.
I was just going to say, he's got a little zombicide going on
right? There. Yeah. So I'm going to liven him up a little bit, shall we say.
A little highlight, he'll be fine.
Yeah. So the Ambassador's ready to go. And, of course, we made a joke on the stream if you weren't there with us that, I'm doing... Gaz, you missed this one. So we were doing all this work to paint up all these guys, and a thought occurred to me. No. If Jim kills us in the transit game, why are we painting all this stuff? Because it's kind of pointless anyway.
Yeah, I caught that one, actually. So I've decided not to send anything. You can paint them all yourselves.
Oh.
That'll be our reserve force.
So I think Jim, if I recall... threw down the gauntlet and said one IED can take you all out, and that'd be the end of the game. And I'm like, all right, okay.
I was just trying to be helpful.
That works for me, Jim. I'll be playing the bad guys. So.
All right, so we're going to have to modify the rule set.
The discussion we were having is who's actually going to be playing these games. I'm just creating the transit game. It would be unfair if I was actually playing it. I mean,
are you going to be like the game referee then? Are you going?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be there on the stream.
Yeah,
I'm going to. I designed the game. I'll play test the game a couple times, and we can have some streams on about that. But as far as the actual, here's the project. Here's what's going on. I was just going to run the game. I don't think it would be fair to either the Libyan militias or the GRS security people if I was playing the opposition. Being the designer of the game and all.
Yeah.
Thinking we need to add a Predator drone to the rule set.
Jim,
Well, the tank and the aircraft carrier and the artillery strikes and the Hellfires, there's a lot going on. But no, we're just kidding, obviously.
Yeah.
Those militia were really well armed. Strange.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. All of a sudden they had, laser repeaters from Star Wars or something. It was great.
That's all right. We're up for the challenge. Honestly, we are totally up for a challenge. So I'm good with that. So that's kind of what I've been working on. I'm going to finish up some of the baddies that I have here. Dawn made an excellent point. We're going to put together a list of all the minis we've already got created so you kind of keep track. Also, all
the GRS operators are now complete, right?
Yeah, GRS are complete. The Ambassador's complete. We have to work on the
we were talking
DS
about
agents.
how many actual DS agents were going to be in there, and then you're just going to need a whole bunch of militias,
and then a couple vehicles. I did order them, but
17 Feb as well.
I have to look at the order because Footsword Miniatures US canceled part of my order for the vehicles, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'll have to reach out to Tim and see what's going on there. But yeah, we need to get those vehicles, and right now, per the timer, I think we're at just 11 days left in our clock. So
yeah, and I've got the technical, and that's been 80% assembled. I left some of it in sub-assembly because it's easier to paint that way.
Yeah.
And it's got a base coat on it, but I wanted to save that for the live stream, so I haven't done
I
anything
can
else.
barely hear Marty.
Gotta talk louder, Marty.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear him now? Well, it's going to be kind of hard to hear Marty on Skype, but we're hearing him on the recording, so just talk a little louder.
Happy days.
So, all right. Oh, so by the way, guys, because I'm an idiot, and I'm acknowledging this, I hit stream instead of recording, so we're actually streaming and recording at the same time. So.
Oh well.
Yeah. Oh well.
Nothing like a live performance.
Right.
Right.
Let's work under pressure.
That's right. So.
So does that cut down on post-production? Because, well, it's already out there.
Yeah, pretty much. But I still will put our music in there. And if you guys have noticed, we're adding a lot more music because I got us an unlimited music license to stuff. So we're going to start upbeating some music here, guys. So it's all right.
I believe Gaz sent a suggestion in earlier.
Yeah, Gaz sent in a suggestion. I don't know if I have the license for that one. So
I was disappointed there was no video.
A choice moment.
Yeah.
Let the bodies hit the floor.
So, okay. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. Marty, how about you?
Well, so I, as I've talked about the past couple times, I've been working on Crisis Protocol, and I'm proud to say that I completed my Crisis Protocol miniatures.
Nice.
And then last Sunday I had a meltdown and stripped Spider-Man in my 2 cars.
Okay.
Spider-Man kind of looked like a epileptic 3-year-old that was over-caffeinated, went at him with a chubby crayon, and I couldn't fix it, so we're starting over. And then maybe I should stay off the internet. I saw somebody else's terrain and their cars looked magnificent, and I'm like, I got to raise this up. So I stripped them, and they will need to be repainted. But
well, okay, so that leads us to a point we've talked about on the show before. Don't judge your work by others on the internet, because it'll just drive you crazy. Because there are some people that are just so ridiculously talented, you will never replicate or get close to it. And you'll just frustrate yourself, and it could even turn you off from painting altogether.
Could. However, I know that I can do better than what I had.
Yeah.
So I was not satisfied with my work there. Spider-Man did need to get stripped. I've already got all of his base colors down and whatnot, so I just need to do the black on him, and he'll be ready to roll. And then I'll play the game with cars unpainted if I have to until I paint them.
There you go.
And then Adepticon is coming up, so I got a message from them that one of the wait lists I was on for a painting class, oddly enough, it's on weathering though, that there was an opening. So I signed up for that, and I am in the Badgers Games painting competition. So they sent me a mini. I got that Thursday, so I'm excited. I can start working on that little dude.
Cool.
And then I assembled all of my Harry Potter miniatures. So
there you go.
We'll got them in the queue, and we'll start working on them as soon as I'm done with my Spider-Man.
Excellent. Outstanding work. All right, so Jim, how about you? We'll start on this side of the Atlantic, and we'll move over.
So for moderns, we've been doing some Yankee Squadron in Air War C-21. So we're trying to use the Air War C-21 system for a series of games, maybe. So hopefully, we'll see how it goes. Air War set in the world of Team Yankee.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going okay so far.
Now that's F-16s, right? That was F-16s against.
It was 2 F-16s out of Ramstein Air Force Base versus Fighter Aviation Regiment MiG-29 Fulcrums.
Oh, they were MiG-29. I misspoke. I thought I said Su-27s, but never mind. All right, makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah. So for Su-20, I mean, obviously those aircraft types could have met.
Yeah.
They're all contemporary for the time period or whatever. For an initial game, however, like just to try it out and make sure that our systems are balanced. Well, we know the system's balanced. It's Wessex Games. It's a great little system. But while the players kind of get used to it or whatever, you would put together aircraft that are similar weight class, similar flight characteristics. You would put Sukhoi 27's flankers up against F-15s.
Yeah.
Something in a bigger weight class. So far, yeah, we're starting at pretty, small, high maneuverability, high speed, kind of stuff. And that's going to be, so far our MiG-29 Fulcrums versus F-16s over southern West Germany and the Fulda Gap. It's going okay so far. We've got some more videos coming out, early part of, maybe this weekend, early part of next week. Where we do some, we had a live game, and now we're doing some walkthroughs.
Excellent.
We can get a better handle on the rules.
Excellent.
And that's, pretty much it for Moderns.
Excellent. So, I have been doing some thinking, and I was thinking we would talk about this off air, but you know what? I think now is an appropriate time to talk about it. Obviously, our main concentration is modern era wargaming. How do you guys feel? And this is a good conversation point for everybody, since we are kind of live. Oops. If anybody's actually listening to us right now, or because it's not our scheduled time to broadcast, or if you're listening to this as a later recording and you want to comment in on this, what do you guys feel about obviously keeping our main focus modern, but opening up the channel to all military, real-world wargaming? So anything military related. How do you guys feel about it? Because that would actually broaden our scope a little bit more. Obviously I'm all about the modern stuff, but, let's be honest, there's a lot more out there. Because, like, Jim, you're doing a Revolutionary War game this weekend, right?
Yeah, we're doing some more play testing for Sons of Liberty.
Yeah, so, and I have a soft spot for American Revolution, or the War of Independence, whatever the British want to call it, Treason Day.
We can call it whatever we want. We won.
Unfortunately, a lot of American historians who call it the War of Independence nowadays. I don't know why, but yeah, that's fine.
So, and then of course there's the American Civil War, which is also a soft spot since I had relatives fighting in it, ancestors.
Which side were they on?
Confederates.
So,
Shut up, Marty.
So again, we can call it whatever we want because we won up here.
Yeah, well, so
It's not
the
war.
South shall rise again.
It is not the War of Northern Aggressions.
Glory, hallelujah.
So, I don't mean to go off.
The best part of Historicon, I was playing at a table, at a Saratoga table, and the guy that I was interviewing, he was running an American Revolutionary War game, but his shirt was Civil War themed.
Yeah.
And it was a big picture of Sherman. And the graphic underneath the Sherman, he said, "Do I have to come down there again?" I'll stop this car and I will come down. I'll come down there again.
That is awesome. Well, so what do you guys think? What are your initial impressions or feelings on that?
I
think it's a trap.
It's a trap.
To try and paint more models. I'm pretty sure she has some red coats kicking around over there.
Well, let's see. I have Napoleonics in 10 millimeter that I still have to do. I have. I just bought the Rourke's Drift set that I've talked about before, which definitely because people are screaming for live plays, gameplays, let's plays. Mm-hmm. And as much as we love moderns and stuff, Jim, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired of painting green.
Yeah, I paint a lot of green and brown. That's true. Yeah.
For moderns, what you paint a lot of is desert sand.
Yeah, sand. Yeah. Olive drab. No, I love my moderns. Don't get me wrong. It's an exciting genre, and this is what we built our foundation on, and I am all about it. But as someone who has a love for military history, I am almost tempted to just expand the horizon a little bit. I'm not saying we have to get crazy about it, but I feel bad because Jim has a lot of great material that he likes to do games with, and if he feels like he wants to stream a World War II Battle of Midway, god dang it, we should do it, right?
We've bent the rules a couple, like we did our Vol River crossing.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's okay that if we do it like as an exception from here on, once in a while. American Revolution, Sons of Liberty is being it was done and play tested. I'm redoing it because I wasn't really happy. It was kind of clunky, and we can get into that later. But miniatures wise, I've got like 400 figure armies, 4
so
factions.
Here's my only thing.
For the American Revolution.
Here's my only caveat. If we expand our scope, I don't want us to get pigeonholed into World War II. God knows there's enough people out there that cover World War II. I would like to see us
That is the trap that Gaz was talking
Yeah,
about.
so
That's the whole World War II.
I would like to see us covering some more of the, outside the easy avenue, which is World War II. I mean, let's be honest. It's easy to do World War II, right? You've got Flames of War, you got Bolt Action, you've got Battleground,
Flames of War.
So let's... like I said, I would like to explore some other options. And Jim, like I said, you've got a lot of great material, and I really want to do Rourke's Drift and do an actual Let's Play of Rourke's Drift.
Yeah.
It was Captain Lomax herself did some damage against the Germans in World War One, Valor and Victory. If you
That's
recall.
right. So
are we limiting to period, or do you want to be able to go as far back as we want?
I say we go back as far as you want. But here's the caveat. It has to be historical military. It cannot be the Tau against the Space Marines.
I'm not on about that area is not something I'm interested in. But I've got a couple of the Osprey games picked up. There's the Crusades one.
Oh yeah.
Is that Lions Rampart or whatever it is?
I've got Lions Rampant, and I've got the fantasy version of Lions Rampant, but I've got Lions Rampant because it was cheap. And there's a new version of that coming out, set specifically in the Crusades, because Lions Rampant's very generic.
Yeah.
Developed by one of the universities in the UK. I work in a university, and I'm interested on how. Part of my job is looking at how technology is used, but I'm interested in other things on how gaming can be used to educate.
Yeah, I mean that's really how modern, or not even modern, but military wargaming came about. It was redoing battles and learning from generals' mistakes.
Yeah, they're essentially tactical exercises without troops.
A new version of Lion Rampant.
Yeah, and
they use it in this lecturer who's produced it, but he uses it in his teaching to teach history.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with
that. Perhaps is this Philip Sabine, if I'm saying his name right?
I'm not sure. There was an article up on OTT about it.
I've got his
new version.
book. How to teach via war games or whatever. War game design. Yeah, he's a university professor somewhere in the UK. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's all right, Jim. It might be him. I'm not sure. I saw the article because I've had conversations. This is sort of a little side. I've had conversations with some of the lecturers in education because they're in the same faculty where I work. Talking about using Dungeons and Dragons to teach. Because it teaches creativity, it teaches team play, it teaches imagination and creative writing.
Yeah.
And Wizards of the Coast have produced a collection, cut down versions that you can get in PDF of D&D to be used in schools, and it's K-12 and above. So it's all of these different things, and something I'm interested in. And also from a military gaming point of view, there's that new rule set that came out, and I think it's Footstore have done the miniatures, which is the Baron's War.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay.
It's, guys, you might be able to correct me on this. It's the barons within the UK, the baronies within the UK, and it was the wars between those barons. So like the barons of the Northumberland, things like that. It was before 1066, I think, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, so I think it is. I've seen it, but I've not read that much into it, to be honest.
I've not read much into it, but the minis are very much of Norman, Saxon, that period.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So is this like the four kingdoms of what would become England? It wasn't even really England yet. It was Mercia, Wessex, and these are the four kingdoms that weren't really united until the Viking invasions in the 8th century.
Yeah, that type of thing.
Something like that. Okay.
It's because there was two Baron Wars in the UK. There was the first Baron War of 1215 to 1217, which was a civil war inside of the Kingdom of England. I'm just bringing up some information on the web here. And then there was the second Baron War, which was Simon de Montfort and against the royalist forces. So it was a number
this is
of
a little
barons.
bit later with the whole Plantagenet. And okay, I got you.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
But there's a collection of there was a Kickstarter done. Baron's War. I'll bring up the Kickstarter and see what it was. 28mm miniatures. It was sculpted by Paul Hicks. So it's the first Baron's War. So it's the Magna Carta conflict. So that's 1215 to 1217. Really nice sculpts, really nice miniatures. So it was that period. And Futsal posted up on their Facebook page that they're working on a collection of rules for it. So it was just, things that sort of piqued my interest now.
Yeah.
Like I've got sitting here, and I'll occasionally go back and watch it. I'll sit and watch Gettysburg, and I'll sit and watch Gods and
Generals.
Yeah.
Gods and Generals. I've got them both, and I've got the director's cut of them both. So there's 8 hours of movie.
Oh yeah, those are the full version of Gettysburg is like 4 hours and 20 minutes.
And I sat and watched it all.
It's a good
I
film.
own it all. I watched. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
that's
a weekend. Right
that leads me to another.
You're right, Jim. It is a weekend.
Yeah. So let me a couple things. I want to interject here real quick, Ralph. One again, I think by expanding our scope, I want to say scope of practice. You can tell I work in the medical field. Our scope is because we have a lot of people, and Jim, you and I both know a couple people that we have gamed with over in Ireland and online that don't want to do moderns for various reasons. And I feel bad because we don't get to include them in some stuff. So if we broaden the horizons, we could bring in to the fold, if you will, some of these people to play some other things. I honestly have a guilty interest in feudal Japan, so I would like to do some gaming in, there is, what's the heck's the name of that game? I own the starter set and have never opened it.
Test of Honor.
Test of Honor.
Yes, there you go.
And then Osprey has a rule set called Ronin, Shogun. Is it Shogun or Ronin?
No, it's Ronin, and it was in the UK. It's like £7.
Yeah, so I have it.
It's really, really good.
So I mean, those are things I would like to do, and people. And I'm going to shout out to one of our Patreon subscribers. Just go back on the Thursday night streams. Like, I want Let's Plays. I want Let's Plays, and we technically do that with Jim's Gaming, but we haven't done any miniature-based ones. And obviously, we've got a big doozy coming up with 13 hours, but there's more stuff. And I want to be able to. I would like to do Avalon Hill 1776 or some of the other ones I have. I've got Gettysburg downstairs somewhere, and so
which one?
I don't remember. I just got it.
Does it have about 20 or 30 pieces to it, or 2,000 or 3,000 pieces to it?
I want to say it's 2,000 to 3,000 pieces.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I've got both, but there was the one that was division level.
Yeah.
So like the entire rebel army, not Confederate army, rebel army. Damn dirty rebels. The entire rebel army is like maybe 9 pieces.
Yeah.
Plus commanders, and then the Federal Army is like maybe 20, and then there's the other one that goes all the way down to regiment, and this is like when regiments were sometimes down to 200 people. So you've got a battle that is a grand total when you add both forces together on day 3, 170,000 people in 200-person units. That's a lot of pieces on the table.
So
much more detailed, obviously. Borderline unplayable if you play with some of the expansions and advanced rules or whatever. And then you've got the very, very simple version. And then, of course, you've got brigade level games that are in between. Gettysburg is the American Waterloo. Gettysburg is the biggest battle that's ever taken place in the Western Hemisphere. It is absolutely, pivotal, at least as far as our history goes. Mm-hmm. And the point of that thing is that it's been done in gaming every level, every different angle, it's been done a million times. So I mean, you could have a channel theoretically just about Gettysburg.
Yeah, right?
And run it for at least a year. I mean, seriously, you could have at least 20 or 30 videos. You have a year's worth of content just on Gettysburg. Never mind Revolution, Civil War. Never mind Black Powder. Yeah. It's absolutely gigantic. So, yeah, there's a lot of ground there, and it's a big topic here in the States.
Yeah.
Napoleonic is not something that I don't know about. I mean, everyone knows about Napoleonic. It's just not really my jam.
That's fine. I mean, here's the thing. By us expanding our scope, Jim, stuff you have an interest in that maybe not a lot of people play in or game in, you can bring to the forefront. Ralph, same thing. Gaz, you know, it could be the Viking raids along the coast or whatever. You know, who knows? I'm just throwing stuff out there. You know, I was, while you were just discussing some things, I was showing Marty 3 games. I haven't even opened the boxes yet. I have Victoria Cross 2, the deluxe edition, the Battles of Vork's Drift and Islane Wana from Worthington Games, which was a Kickstarter.
Which I still maintain are actually the same battle.
Very
I
nice
know,
looking
it's
box.
the same action, but the Brits consider it 2. One, they got their ass handed to them, the one that they actually won, theoretically. And then you've got Worthington Games again, another Kickstarter I just got, Custer's Last Stand. You know, I haven't played that yet. And then on top of that, I got another Kickstarter for Legion War Games for the Battle of the Little Bighorn. So stuff that I have a passion for that we could put out gaming content for.
I was going to say, you've got 2 games for the same battle.
I know, but they're different game system.
Yeah.
So, you know,
it'd be interesting to try the exact same battle in 2 different game systems and run a comparison.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, are you guys excited about the idea of this, or you're like, that's too much, let's forget it? I mean,
no, I think is, you know, because it'll open, and as you said, we're making a bigger tent, to use a term that seems to be running around in certain circles. You know, we're trying to invite people that wouldn't normally listen to the podcast or be involved in with us to enjoy the hobby. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I'm like you, G. I've got a soft spot for ancient, well, not ancient, but feudal Japan.
Yeah.
You know, the Shogun Wars, things like that. You know, one of the very first role-playing games I ever played was Bushido.
Oh yeah.
The FGU game, which lovely game, great. You know.
Yeah.
So you know, and I had a bunch of minis from Games Workshop, the old Citadel ninjas and stuff. So you know, that was one of the things, you know, that sort of introduced me into the hobby and things. And you know, there's more. There's a plethora of games out there. Yes, there's quite a few modern games coming, and there's quite a few modern systems out there.
Yep.
But there is a plethora of other things sitting out there. Like, and we're going to discuss this a little bit later. Is this past week I got my Kickstarter from Storming the Gap.
Yep.
Which is, you know, Cold War Gone Hot. Yes, it's modern, but it's Cold War Gone Hot. And, you know, that's a hex encounter game.
Yeah.
That could be easily creatable with Jim's help into doing something digitally that we could play.
Yeah.
That would work. Yeah. Almost any hex encounter game you can work into a into a electronic format very very easily. As we've shown with Contact Front, we can do it with miniatures as well.
Yeah.
The only games that are tough, and this is part of the issue we're running across with Air War C21, is games that involve cards.
Oh yeah.
That's where it gets a little rough. You can work around it or whatever, but I mean that's really the only reason we haven't really gotten into the whole Ultra Combat stuff. Met the guys from Ultra Combat, met the guys from Phalanx Consortium back at Historicon. The great game system. I demo their games on camera. The only reason we haven't really done that, I mean, they're friends of the channel. Again, it's that whole card mechanic thing. It's tough to do that over just kind of a remote thing. I'm sure if you went full into D20 or virtual tabletop or something like that, there's a way you could work it. But to do it in a way that's easy for us, and or I should say with me and our current platform, yeah, it's just anything that doesn't involve too many cards. Even then, like we do with Air War C21, there are tricks, there are ways around it. But anything hex based, anything miniature based. Yeah, that would be pretty easy. As far as opening our scope goes, as long as you do it with a couple of, pros and cons. So pro, yes, we definitely should do it. I think because number one, wargaming is a niche, just in general. Historical wargaming is a niche within a niche. If we continue to limit ourselves to also modern, now we're talking about a niche within a niche within a niche. We're never going to grow that big if we limit ourselves to that, narrow of a focus.
Right.
So, yeah, we should definitely expand. But at the same time, yeah, if we kind of, limit ourselves in a couple ways, which I think we're all in agreement already, but just to say it, number one, historical, or it isn't, is modern historical, real world only.
Yes.
So yeah. Okay. Number one and number two. Yeah. Let's not forget the projects we already have on the table. We definitely got to finish Benghazi.
Yes, most definitely.
Let's not. Let's not. I can't. There's nothing in the world Risking Me hates worse than a dropped project.
Exactly.
I cannot stand that. So we'll finish that first, and we'll see where it takes us after that. I think that's at least my vote.
Okay.
And yeah, like you were saying, there's a lot of people on tabletop and other communities that I've lost touch with, because generating content for SITREP takes up so much time.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a game of Panzer Leader except for like Gulf War Panzer Leader, which almost isn't Panzer Leader by that point. In forever. And there goes a couple of my players. We were getting ready to do Omaha, all of Omaha, in Panzer Leader back in for the 75th last year, and I won't mention anyone because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I had to turn players away because I might be able to do it solitaire because I can do. Even then, it took me 25 hours of gaming. I worked on 3 or 4 hours a day for over a week.
Yeah.
But to do that live would have taken 45 hours, which would have been a great series.
Yeah.
It could have been 2 months worth of content, but it wasn't modern. So.
Yeah. So, Gaz, you've been awfully quiet. What's your thoughts?
I like the idea of expanding, but I think there needs to be a level of focus, because if we all come to the table with, say, if I come with Greek, you come with Rogue's Drift, and we all come with different topics, we won't know enough about the other person's topics necessarily to have discussions.
Uh-huh.
So if we're going to do it, I'd advise us to look at either geography and, change episode to episode. Mm-hmm. But we need some sort of focus to pull out stuff that we can all sort of do a bit of
that's a good idea.
research on and look into.
I think that's where we can have the no offense, Al, but we can have the discussion around the logistics off stream. We can get together and we can plan out each show, or have how we used to have the Excel sheet, the sheet inside of Google Docs. Put some notes in there on, say, for example, guys, you're doing the Viking raids on Northumberland as an example. We can then go and do some research, look at game systems that deal with that, or model kits, and some of the history, even TV shows, Vikings.
Oh no, you didn't.
I was waiting for that.
It's a great show, but shit, it's not real.
Yeah, we know that, and it's moving 100 years in the future.
I'm going to do a Jim Oriskany moment. It ain't historically correct.
Anyway.
I've been rewatching Sam Adams, the HBO series.
That was good. Did you like it?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It It's David McCullough, so it's based on his writing. So
yeah.
What makes me think of it, I think I'm going to make a meme of this or a video clip or whatever, is I think it's in the last part when the artist shows him the painting of the Declaration of Independence. And he gives all these like artistic critiques, and you're trash, you're a terrible artist or whatever. And then he turns to him and says, "I have one more thing more to say to you, sir. It is very, very bad history."
Anyway, I just derailed the conversation there. So yeah.
No. I think that's a good idea.
That we plan.
Absolutely, yeah. Gaz brings up, so that's a great solution to a problem that Gaz brings up. Those are both really good points, interrelated points. Yeah, there's 3 levels of, do you know what you're talking about on a podcast or whatever?
Uh-huh.
You're either a subject matter expert, you're conversant, or you don't know shit.
Right.
You're very, very quiet.
And I appreciate you guys inviting me.
You guys start talking about Vikings and the Crusades and the Plantagenet Wars and then the Wars of the Roses and all that stuff. I am conversant. I can I can participate, but I'm not going to lead the conversation.
And I'm going to be the one going, I like the colors and the swords. That's about all I know.
I was going to say, that's where I am when you guys start talking about feudal Japan. I mean, there are gaps on the Oriskany bookshelf, and that's a big one. So I would have to at least read a couple magazine articles before I would, So the opportunity to do that before the stream or the podcast would be great.
Yeah. I'm excited. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited at the possibilities of this, and I just feel it opens us up to so much more. With Jim, with his extensive knowledge and and some of the stuff that he could do in his gaming sessions, and painting. Let's be honest, Gaz, you've really taken the helm on the painting videos. So,
they're pretty
I think
sweet.
you found your niche with our crew. Is you really have done a really great job. You're like somebody said you're the Bob Ross of our group.
I don't know who Bob Ross is.
Shut up!
What?
Hang on, no, he might not. I know.
Gaz, you're a happy mistake.
Tony Hawk's is in the skateboarder.
No, Tony Hart.
You really don't know who Bob Ross is?
Okay, real quick, Gaz. It's
Google
a huge
it.
compliment, so don't worry about it.
You need to look up. All right, Ralph, you're the quick typist. Would you send him a link to Bob Ross, please?
Which one? Do you want the Deadpool version or
No,
not the Deadpool. Well, maybe that'll be the second link. We got to give him a point of reference first.
Yeah. I
It's
can't
'cause
believe you don't know who
down
Bob
to a
Ross
lamp
is.
And a camera, and that's all I do when I get home. I don't have any.
That's Bob Ross.
outside world anymore.
Pretty Little Trees.
Yeah.
Happy little treat.
Happy little video.
All right.
It's a happy accident. Just
It's
make
a
that
bit
into a
like- it's
bird.
bit like, do you know who Mr. Rogers is, Gaz?
No.
Shut up!
Oh, come on now. Everyone's ganging up on Gaz. Gaz, I got your back, man. Don't worry about it.
I don't think Macaulay Culkin is. Does that count?
No.
Oh dear.
I just found out that Macaulay Culkin used to date Mia Kunis. He was actually married to her for like 8 years or something.
What?
And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if that makes me hate him even more or respect him just a touch more. But either way, oh my God.
You got to respect that on some
I've
level. I
received a
mean,
link.
I'm not
I'll
sure
have to
how it
get
happened,
educated in
but-
the background.
Well, watch it later, so you'll get the idea who Bob Ross is. He was a guy on public television here in the United States that did a painting show. And he was not an artist. He was actually an Air Force vet who used painting as a way of therapy, and he developed his own style of painting. And unfortunately, the real artist painters did not like him and made fun of him all the time, saying he wasn't a real artist. But millions, and I'm not kidding when I say this, millions of people love him.
yes, he's
Millions of
beloved.
people love him, and he taught millions of people how to paint.
Yes.
The only reason he gets a little bit of backlash is because the style of painting that he developed, he stole from somebody else.
Yeah.
His former mentor or whatever. So, there's always two sides to every issue. But overall, it's like 99% positive.
Yeah.
Dude should have got his own
he's
TV
just like,
show.
"Look, here's a canvas, and it's great for terrain, and it's great for like when we used to build those tables virtually or whatever. I don't know, those little Photoshop stream videos. I'd be like, oh, here's some trees, here's some trees. You know, like, and people would be like, oh my God, are you trying to like channel Bob Ross right now? I'm like, I would never even. I'm painting in Photoshop. That's not the same thing. No, not worthy. But yeah, it's totally a compliment, and
Absolutely.
yeah, I agree. I think Gaz's streaming videos have been great on painting.
Yes.
Certainly not to take away what's been going on with you over there, G. I mean, you went through all those brown shoes on that poor
Damn brown shoes on the
you
suit.
love those brown shoes.
No, I the way I look at it is Gaz is our Bob Ross. He takes one mini and he goes through the steps. He's very easy to listen to. He talks about it. It's a very conversant. Then you have us loudmouth Yanks who sit around a table, talk crap, and try and paint some minis. It's more for the entertainment value than the actual content value of painting a miniature. So,
I think it might be just the difference between a brew and a brew.
That's
right.
There you go.
Exactly.
I say we rebrand these. You know, we have Gaz how to paint a miniature, and then we have the other crew over there in Chicago how not to paint a miniature. Two people.
We could do it like a before and after kind of thing, maybe.
I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the technical when Marty pulls his finger out and finishes it off.
Oh, there it is.
There's the gauntlet.
Hey, G told me to not paint it at the house, so I've been holding on to this thing, chomping at the bit for like 2 weeks to slap some more paint on it.
On Thursday night, bring the technical.
I will. I have it
All
here
right,
now,
so
actually.
I'll put the ad out. So yeah, we are so focus number one is to finish up 13 hours and get that going, and then we'll start looking at next time periods. I'm excited. This is very exciting. You know,
I've been on a huge American Revolution kick lately. I don't know what it is. Just out of nowhere. Just Black Powder in general, but specifically American Revolution.
That's
American
exciting.
Civil War is a little too big for me.
Yeah.
I mean, to do that realistically in a war game, I mean, Gettysburg is huge, man.
Yeah.
Granted, that's one of the bigger battles, but American Revolution, is so small, and the weapons are just 35, 40 years behind. The British, for example, are still carrying the Brown Bess. And I think the tie-in there could be the absolutely hugely popular, I'm not entirely sure why, but the whole Peninsular campaign in Spain, Sharps rifles, that's probably why, the Sean Bean series. The whole Sharps rifle series is basically the American Revolution, except in Spain, between the British. It's more guerrilla tactics as opposed to linear tactics. What linear tactics are linear light. The terrain is much less developed. American colonies and the backcountry of Spain or whatever. It's not classic Napoleonics, which I think is why it's been so successful. People want to get into Napoleonics. They think, oh my God, I have to paint 250,000 miniatures for Waterloo, Leipzig, Borodino, Austerlitz. Yada yada yada, or no, I can play a skirmish level game in the peninsula, Sharps rifles style. And American Revolution is the biggest battle of the American Revolution is either, depending on who you ask, Monmouth or Long Island. 25 tops, 30,000 people total. Waterloo was tipping damn near 250,000. Leipzig was almost 400,000. So the battles are 1/10 or less, 5% the size.
Yeah.
You got battles of Oriskany. There you go.
Wait, what?
Is Oriskany into the Revolution? Well, there's the Battle of Oriskany, which had 800 versus 500, and still remains the bloodiest battle per capita that's ever taken place in American history. So, yeah, there's a lot to go there. And again, I think with the American Revolution, we could connect to the Sharps rifle crowd. In the UK and other parts of the world, and that right there is going to be a huge new group of audience participation contributors, all kinds.
Yeah, and you know what? It just two things came to mind. Marty whispered it to me when we were talking about this idea. Ralph, this means you're going to have to create new logos and graphics.
That's a surprise.
And two, this opens up an exciting avenue for Marty and I here in the U.S. Because if we go into a time period that has firearms, we could get our hands on those firearms and show them how they really work.
Yes.
There you go. Get yourself some of those Pennsylvania rifles.
Yeah.
Some of those Kentucky Widowmakers.
There you go.
Just don't have gas around.
No, he did pretty good when he went shooting with us.
I guess did all right.
Yeah. So, a lot of ideas. A lot of good ideas. All right. You know what? I'm sorry, Gaz. What have you been up to? Because we kind of went on a huge tangent and we never finished that thought.
I've been going out to stupid Apaches that have been and three downed aircraft in 1 week. We don't have that many. We're not like the US where you got 400 in a field waiting to be used. So when 3 of them go down and they send teams out to each, it's a bit of a problem. So that ate up the most of my week. I was planning to do some painting on Wednesday, so instead, tomorrow at noon UK time, GMT, I'm going to pick up a paintbrush and get at least 2 minis done.
3?
For the 13 days project?
For the 13 days equals 13 hours.
Thank you. Excellent. How about you, Ralph?
It's been a quiet week.
Yeah, I've not done much this week. I have been rather busy at work with some stuff coming in, especially for the rewrites of the medical stuff that we need to do for the nursing program. So I've been getting home and just wanting to chill, if you know what I mean. Just not look at anything. Done some bit of reading. Did some write-ups for some other stuff, and yesterday I got my Kickstarter for Storming the Gap, which we're going to sort of have a chat about as well.
Awesome. Excellente. All right. Well, that's a good segue. Why don't you start talking about that, Ralph?
Well, it's more the news more than anything, and this is just part of it. It's as you know, we sort of look at what's coming in within the next 2 to 3 months, I would say. Battlefront announced their, shall we say, relaunch? Would you call it a relaunch of Team Yankee?
Second edition.
It's like a rebrand almost, isn't it? Because it's World War III's Team Yankee now.
Yes, yeah.
From what I've seen and from what I've read and everything, it looks like they're not changing the rules. The core rule book's still the same.
What? I thought they were redoing it to streamline it.
Doesn't look like it from what I've seen. I could be wrong. Could be completely wrong. Put my hand up. Because I've only just sort of skimmed because Team Yankee's not the system I'm interested in. I'm more interested in Northag when that comes out.
Okay.
Because I have that on order. And it's a different scale than Team Yankee because I was thinking, Team Yankee minis, are they the same scale as what's coming out from Battlefront? But they're not.
Yeah.
Because Battlefront's 10mm, isn't it? And Team Yankee's 20. It's a different scale.
Team Yankee is 15mm, and I think Northag we used to make Battle Group, also PSC miniatures anyway, I think are 10.
Yeah,
10mm for
10
Northag, 15 for Team Yankee Battlefront.
Yeah. So, different scale, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of I've got all these nice 10mm stuff to buy, 15mm armies. It's like, no. I'll stick with what's coming from North Targ with them. But it seems like there's a lot of Cold War gun hat stuff coming. So like I said, there's North Targ from PSG, Plastic Soldier Company. There's also Ultra Combat, which is Cold War gun hat modern or ultra modern.
Yeah.
When those appear from the Kickstarter, and then of course we've got the new version of Team Yankee. What I did like about the way they're doing Team Yankee so much is they are technically duplicating North Tag with the new sets because it's British. They're concentrating fully on the British for this first run of the re-releases.
Well, they have to because Northag is the Northern Europe Army Group, so that is British. So
yeah, but this is Team Yankees doing it.
Yeah,
it's not PSC. It's actually Team Yankees concentrating on the north part of that campaign from that book.
It makes sense. I mean, hey, Skoback has joined us on the live stream. Welcome, Skoback. We just talked about you. I hope you caught that. We did a shout out to you. No, but to your point, Ralph, I mean, it makes sense because, when they first released, it was mostly American stuff.
Yeah, it was. It was only American.
So, and we all know that America is only a part of the NATO alliance and the defense of Europe from the communist onslaught.
Right.
But from a business standpoint, shall we say, or a relaunch, shall we say, they seem to we're relaunching with a British starter force, instead of we're going to relaunch with an American starter force because the thing's called Team Yankee.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying is, you would think, yes, it's World War III Team Yankee, but they seem to be doing the relaunch based around the north part of the conflict and not. Or the fictional conflict, not where the U.S. Marines or the U.S. Infantry would be based. And is it central and south, Jim?
I was going to say I got a couple ideas on why they might be shifting to the for launch 2 might be shifting most of the British. Okay, so cover art of the original book notwithstanding.
Yeah, here we go.
A lot of problems with the cover art. Cover art of the original book notwithstanding, Team Yankee, and despite the name, has nothing to do with actually being American. When units deploy out to the field, the mech battalions and the armor battalions will start to switch companies, and then the companies in there will switch one platoon or whatever. They'll turn their homogenous. This is how you organize an army in peacetime. So you only have, it's one type of training, one type of equipment, one type of, OOB, maintenance training or whatever. But in the field, that's terrible. So they'll actually do these switches, and companies become teams. So, to my knowledge, mechanized companies turned into teams were usually team like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and then the armor-heavy teams were usually the last 4 letters of the alphabet: Whiskey, Whiskey, Zulu, Yankee, and X-Ray. I don't know if they still do that, but again, this is from the 1980s. So Team Yankee just was almost like a coincidence or whatever. Now, I think they kind of stepped into that quicksand with the cover art of the original Team Yankee rulebook, which is like, holy Team America. There's literally Russian machine gun bolts bouncing off the Shield of Freedom.
Shield of Freedom!
It's like Freedom or Liberty on the front of that Abrams, and there's like Russian machine gun bolts bouncing harmlessly off of it. I'm like, hey guys, I get the commentary. Okay, let's move on. Okay, but on a more serious note, as far as the game goes, okay, they started off with the Americans as far as the release goes. If they're not really changing the core rules or the core scenarios, there's no real reason to change what they released for the Americans.
Yeah.
And the American miniatures that they released back in 2015, you were at that boot camp with me.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with those miniatures. Now, was there anything wrong with the British miniatures that they released for later on in version 1 of Team Yankee? From a manufacturing standpoint, not really. But remember, for when they released the British the first time around for Team Yankee, they started off with chieftains.
Which is
Why? They started off with chieftains. They're half a generation behind, and then they, in order to make the British not look like they were not doing well against the West compared to the West Germans and the Americans, they kind of artificially bumped up like how good a chieftain really is. What they kind of should have released is what they're releasing now. It's the Challenger 1. Which was in battalion strength from 1983 forward, so it would have been era specific or whatever. And British Army of the Rhine up there in North Hag would have been some of the first people to get them. So, not to take over the conversation, but super fast, I feel that Team Yankee from Battlefront has always been, let's start off at a certain point and then correct from there. So between Red Thunder releases, moving Fate of a Nation out of Flames of War into the Team Yankee universe, expanding it into Oil Wars, so you include things like Bright Star, Sword Point, maybe even Desert Storm, if you want to get historical about it. What they're doing now with the British with version 2, it seems to be like a history of, okay, we started off here, and now we're going to correct. There's a lot of corrections, which are, the right moves. I'm not trying to criticize Battlefront by any means. They're making a lot of correct decisions, but they're almost like, here's what we released, now let's fix it.
Yeah. The starter set, the British starter force, which, I mean, some of this stuff that I've got pictures of and things in front of us isn't released until March. So it's not available now. Well, you can get the individual bits probably from version 1. But the British starter force, you're getting 5 challengers now, 2 chieftains, 2 Milan anti-tank vehicles, 2 scimitars or Scorpion light tanks, 4 foxes, 2 MLRS rocket units, 2 Lynxes, the rules and the cards. Is what's coming in the British starter force.
That's a pretty decent starter force for that game. I mean, compared to the old starter sets you got.
Some decent horsepower there.
Yeah. I just want to do a quick shout out since we are live. Skoback has joined us. Hello, Skoback. And Gareth White has joined us. Hey, how are you doing? Let Annie know that I need dice bags if you happen to have her around. I will make sure I get that order put in. No, that's good setup, but you know what, Ralph? I'm still set on the 10 millimeter
me too.
set for North Egg. I mean,
10,
obviously
10 or even 6.
Yeah, 6.
I built my Battlefront 15 millimeter Team Yankee force, and they're great models.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think I'll ever use them.
Yeah, it's just too big. You create even on a, let's be honest, even on an 8x4 table. At 15 mil, you're creating a parking lot. Even if you're only doing one squadron of tanks, so what's a squadron of tanks these days? Help me.
Oh God!
It's
okay, hold on.
Is it 9 tanks?
Are we talking about British or are we talking about American cavalry?
Well, let's talk American because that's what
Use
I'm familiar
American
with.
because you've probably got the.
Okay, so Americans, I don't think cavalry. I think a troop in cavalry is a company.
Yeah,
right.
So it's what 9 tanks.
Not 10.
14.
14?
No, yeah.
3 platoons of 4, and then an XO and a CO.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
That's a training. Now, what happens, I won't go through it all again, but what happens is once you go into the field, these homogeneous units they start to switch component units out. So like in the literal novel Team Yankee, what you're actually seeing there is an armored company of, again, 14 tanks that has been loaned to a mechanized battalion.
Yeah.
So
I think it's first of the 78th.
So doctrinally, the U.S. forces will split into task force.
Switch out one of their mech platoon or one of their armor platoons for a mech platoon, and then they get some ITVs. So in that case, now you're down to 10. 2 platoons of 4 of tanks, an XO and a CO, and then you have that attached mech platoon, which in Team Yankee, the novel was M113s. Nowadays, it will probably be Bradleys, along with some ITVs, if they even still use ITVs. I think with so many M3s and M2 Bradleys carrying tows. I don't even know if they're going to use too many more ITVs, because the ITV is the old M113. The whole reason they created the Bradley was the M113 couldn't keep up with the speed-wise, couldn't keep up with the Abrams anymore. So yeah, and then there's combat losses, mechanical failures, or whatever. So yeah, anywhere between like 10 and 14 is a full strength, quote unquote, American company / troop if you're in the cavalry.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm getting that right. If anyone's at Fort Irwin right now, and hit the roof, I apologize, and then just let me know in the comments.
I'm with you on it as well, G. I mean, it's a nice start. That's a nice starter group, that British starter, but compared to what you're getting from MAM, going off, shall we say, what you're getting for your value in money, I think when you look at what was coming from the North Tag starter and the amount of things that you're getting,
yep,
I think it's better quality for the amount of money you're getting, but also, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, as I have the rules sitting there, I skimmed them, I never really looked, but did Team Yankee have the rules for infantry in?
Yeah, there was rules for infantry, because the Americans had
rules.
They did, didn't they? I want to say yes.
Yeah.
But,
Team Yankee was sort of the test balloon. Excuse me, everybody. Sorry. Team Yankee was kind of the test balloon for what was going to become 4th edition
Flames of War.
Flames of War, yeah. So it's not Flames of War, but it's kind of like a related cousin to Flames of War, and therefore it's. Yes, they have infantry and artillery, but let's face it, it's about tanks. More tanks. We like tanks. We love tanks. We want more tanks. Can I have more tanks, please?
All right.
Yeah.
And that's great, but the problem is then you run into scale. Tank combat takes place at 2,000 meters plus. At least if you're if you're a NATO force. If you're the Russians or the Iraqis, well, not so much. But
it still takes place at that scale. It's just you're receiving.
Too big to fit on an 8x4 table.
Yeah.
It's just you look at the North Targ stuff and things, and you're getting, as well as getting the armor, you're getting the infantry support as well, which would be involved in any conflict that is, say for example, the Russians breaking through. They would maybe send infantry in either before or after the tanks to secure areas and things like that. Where with the starter set from Battlefront there's no 15 mil infantry in those stats.
That new British force doesn't have any infantry at all?
No infantry at all. It's all vehicles.
That's a little weird.
Helicopters. Yeah.
But wait,
I guess they assume people already have infantry?
That doesn't make any sense.
There's no infantry. There are no infantry in that British starter set or any of the expansion sets that they're coming, because there's the Fox Recon units by itself. You can get some 109s. You can get the
But you mentioned some warriors, right? The MCV 80s, are those in there?
No.
There are no warriors.
So you know what this leads me to believe? This is what leads me to believe.
Starter set with the anti-tank Milan setup.
Yeah,
but they're not as.
But they don't have the infantry, the disembark things like that.
Yeah,
no dismounts.
They don't. There's no infantry per se. In those sets.
So this goes back to one of the original formulas for Battlefront with Flames of War. It's all about tanks.
Yeah.
It's not really. The infantry was an add-on at some point when somebody said, you know what, this is not a complete quote-unquote World War II game, because there was a lot of infantry battles. But what's cooler, infantry or tanks? Well, we know what's cooler, but tanks are not cool, but, unless you're a treadhead. Helicopters are cooler than tanks, but, that's my opinion.
Well, tanks, helicopters, or infantry, any of them are getting chomped into, sushi if they don't have the other two.
Exactly, that's the point.
It's combined arms.
You don't drive tanks into a city without infantry.
Yeah.
You're
getting two warriors with the, as Gaz said, it's two warriors of the anti-tank variety.
Oh, so they don't have like the 30mm turret on, that they just have the Milan launcher?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the 30 mils are on the Scorpion and whichever variant you set it up as.
Scimitar Scorpion,
30 mil onto that.
Right.
So the other thing is Skobac said Battlefront starters are low I'm sorry, I'm reading this and I'm dyslexic. Battlefront starters and Flames of War and Team Yankee both are super light in infantry. Yeah, because tanks sell, infantry doesn't.
Mm-hmm. I think they're again. I'm not trying to bash them out by any means. I don't think they're that worried about a precise operational doctrine or tactical theory. I think they know their audience.
Yeah, and
their audience want to build tanks. And again. Mm-hmm. Those M60s I have for the Marines, they came out great.
Yeah,
they build great tanks, tank miniatures. Again, you can get away with more detail at 15 mil. To talk about actually playing Team Yankee, I think a lot of the reason Team Yankee gets kind of a not so 100% bill of health is because people play it in 15 mil. I think if you took the Team Yankee rules, which I'm not an expert on, but I have played it. At a number of tables, at a number of venues. I mean, we started off at that boot camp that G and I were at. If you take Team Yankee and you play it with 6mm miniatures, don't change anything. Just play with different size miniatures. That's going to fix half of your problems. I've said that before.
Yeah.
That's going to get rid of your tank. It's going to get rid of your tank parking lots, or at least alleviate them to a great extent.
I agree.
Because number one, the tanks are too big. For the table. The table's too small unless you're playing on a tennis court, which would be nice, but not all of us can do that. And then number two, the other thing that we don't talk about a lot of times is the command rules, especially vis-a-vis the Russians. You have to have your units within a certain degree so that the commanders can exercise control over each other. I don't know exactly how much sense that makes in the age of radio, but at the same time, it does force a certain amount of real-world Soviet doctrine into your Soviet force or whatever. It also allows you to do that Mexican jumping beam mechanic, which is not one of my favorite parts of Flames of War / Team Yankee, where you hit the commander's vehicle and wait, the commander wasn't in that vehicle; he was in this vehicle. And, it's almost like you're almost playing a shell game by that point.
Right.
You shoot one of the tanks, you aim for the command vehicle, you shoot at it, and then the commander can jump, and it's like...
It's a shell game. He's an electron in a quantum state. You don't actually know where he is until you observe him. It's like, come on. I understand why they did it for game mechanics purpose. It's so that you can't just snipe enemy commanders. But in other games, you have to protect your commanders. The game puts that responsibility on you as the player. When your commander just like quantum states between different vehicles, are you really playing the game at that point, or is the game playing you?
It's Schrodinger's tank. Is the commander alive or dead?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marty. We're having a really tough time hearing you, Marty. So if we ever talking over you, I apologize.
It's Schrodinger's tank. Is the commander alive or dead?
Right. There you go. Schrodinger's tank. That's exactly correct. And again, it's a tournament thing. It's a game mechanics thing. I totally understand that. I just, all that said, I still like the system. Overall, the miniatures are awesome. I just, if you play it in 6mm, and that's going to solve a lot of your issues.
Yeah, it's just with them pushing this out and putting it out, you would think a complementary collection of infantry to go with the starter would probably, and then allow for that mechanic of having infantry in buildings with, say, anti-tank and, avoiding small villages and things like that if you've got them on the table, because the Flames of War starters had infantry in them.
And there's infantry available, though.
I was going to say, that stuff came out in the first wave.
You can get a line group, you can get the mechanized infantry group and a platoon and a company, sorry. They are available. It's just not a starter set.
Yeah, but
I'm wondering if they're retooling to put them in plastic, potentially, like they did with the Flames of War stuff.
I'm not sure. I think these might be the plastics. These may be the new.
I would think they have to. I don't think they're resin, because what did we have resin? Was it?
No. I mean so I'm not sure. Are the old infantry, so the Team Yankee British infantry, are they plastic or metal?
I had to buy for my Marine Force in Gulf War. I bought the Ryan's Leatherneck box. That didn't come with a single infantryman. I had to buy that separately. The U.S. and it's not U.S. Marine, U.S. Army. It's just U.S.
Yeah.
U.S. infantry platoon and great miniatures, and they were all metal. So I don't know if the British are the same way. So I understand why maybe they don't re-release a new set of British infantry. They already have it. But to Ralph's point, how about you throw a couple squads in the starter box?
Yeah. If you're wanting people new to the game to come to the game, yes, tanks are all shiny and pretty and things like that, but you want people to have a experience of So we say everything. That's
Yeah, I mean, the
requires.
whole point of a starter box is like an army in a box kind of a thing. Here's a little bit of everything.
Is
Well,
it possibly because modern infantry with anti-tank make tanks in built-up areas obsolete?
No, here's
Because
what I'm thinking.
will kill, anything it hits pretty much.
Yeah. Well, here's what I was
It's a
thinking.
one-shot deal.
When they created Team Yankee, remember, it was based on the book. And in the book, if you've read the book, 90% of the action is not infantry. It's tank on tank. So if they're following the book, and hence why the Americans versus the Soviets is why you got the sets you did. Now, in one part, you had the mechanized infantry, because you remember if you had... was it a platoon? I'm trying to remember. I think it was a platoon that was
There's a mech
attached.
platoon attached to Team
Yeah.
Yankee.
And they're the ones who raced into that village in the valley. But most of it was tank on tank. So if at that point when they created the game, they were following the book, that's why it is. But now that they've expanded to quote-unquote World War III, Team Yankee, they need to have more infantry. They need to have more weapons. They need to expand it a little bit. Now, I don't know if they're exploring, we're going to start in the Northern Army Group and work our way down, or what their line of thinking is. But you have to have infantry. I mean, otherwise, are we going to have nukes and we're just going to nuke people? Game over.
Yes.
It's only sort of the Milan group, which is platoon size, is 10 bases. Each base is a Milan launcher.
Yeah.
So essentially it has 10 Milan shots a turn.
That's a little ridiculous.
Against
That
5
is-
challengers, for example.
Well,
That's a problem.
again, I mean, welcome to modern war.
That's
Read
it,
about
yeah.
read
That's the
about
realities of armor.
Black Monday, 8 October 1973. The Israelis lost their vaunted IDF armor force, died in a single day. Didn't even see an Egyptian tank. That was 1973. Imagine what it would have been like in 85.
Yeah.
Now, again, that's the dirty little secret of historical wargaming. Not every battle makes for a good game. We're pretty much sure how Little Bighorn's going to turn out.
What? Wait a minute. Hold on there. Hold everything.
I was hoping I was going to get away with that. But as far as Team Yankee, okay, so Team Yankee, the novel goes, like I said, these units trade, so you take one company of tanks and you put it in a mechanized battalion, and then so now the battalions have traded one company each, and then within that each of those battalions, those companies trade one platoon each. So Team Yankee was again a tank command group, 2 Abrams platoons, and 1 mechanized company. Platoon. So in Team Yankee, the novel, the original Harold Coyle novel, the infantry played a supporting role only. 2 platoons of tanks, 1 platoon of infantry, with a tank command element. If that book had been called Team Whiskey or Team Zulu or Team X-Ray, or it would have been opposite. It would have been 2 M113s as a command vehicle, 2 more platoons of 5 M113s each with 40 or 50 troops, and then maybe 4 tanks. That's when your tanks pretty much just set up on the high ground over the infantry and try to provide fire support. So both are, valid. Both happen equally, in equal numbers. So in fact, probably the infantry, 90% of any army is infantry, no matter what anyone says. So, when you use Team Yankee as your starting point, the Harold Coyle novel, it's going to be mostly tanks. That's probably one of the reasons they picked it, because Flames of War has always been a very, tank-heavy kind of ecosystem. But again, when you're playing Team Yankee, you're not playing Team Yankee the novel. You're playing Third World War in Europe by Sir John Hackett the novel. That's the verse that he put his book in. So that's where you get your British. That's where you get your West Germans, your Czechs, your Poles, your East Germans, and it expands. And that includes other units that you didn't see, like mechanized heavy teams or mechanized platoons. And that's where, your infantry have got to be in there, big time. I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's just from a starter point of view, you would think, here's a starter set, there's, say, 2 infantry platoons to go with your warriors, or things like that, and it just...
That's like a warrior's job, is to carry infantry. It's an ABC, crying out loud.
Yeah. So...
I mean, what's the purpose of having Bradleys when the Bradleys come out if we have no infantry? I mean, it's not an effective fighting vehicle by any means. Hell, the M113 is not an effective fighting vehicle.
Well, no, the M113 is a
where
battle
you
taxi.
have to ask between the M3 Cavalry or the M2 Bradley. They're technically the same vehicle, but different loadouts. One carries more missiles, one carries more infantry, and obviously most of them are Bradleys because that's what you need. You need to carry troops around the battlefield.
It might be like you said that tanks are sexy. You get helicopters in there as well. You're getting two.
Tanks are not sexy. Helicopters are sexy.
The Lynx isn't sexy.
Jeez, triggered.
No, the Lynx isn't sexy either. But you're getting the vehicles that, shall we say, people will gravitate towards.
Yeah,
it's probably the better way of describing it, isn't it? From a starter box, you're getting those elements in there, and each to their own. I'm not a fan of the rule system.
Yeah,
but I do like the miniatures. The miniatures look really nice. The miniatures do look very, very nice. I even bought the Battlefront, the Colours of War book that they did.
Yeah.
For painting purposes, to help do some of my World War II stuff and some of the moderns. And I'll be using that to paint up the British when I get the North Tag sets coming in from PS Plastic Soldier Company. So sort of moving on from the shall we say my bashing of Battlefront. It's not meant to be, but we've got the North Tag, which we've covered as well, and then we've got.
North Tag's going to be a lot more interesting. Be super fast. Sorry, a lot more interesting when they bring in West Germans and Americans.
Yeah. When
they call it Centag, or when they bring in the Centag expansion. That's when my ears come up. Mm-hmm. It's loosely based on Battle Group. Mm-hmm. I know we had that discussion with Pierce where it's not really Battle Group. Yeah. It's like Battle Group Plus or whatever. So sold.
Yeah,
sold.
We've had PS on here. We've had the conversation about it and stuff. And
we need to get him back on now that it's going to be coming out here soon.
World War II miniature system I've seen.
Not
my favorite war game, but World War II miniature system. Battle Group, and anything that's based on Battle Group automatically has my money. Just give me some West German and American vehicles.
Yeah.
I mean, when PS was on, that's what sold me for it, was Tim talking about it and having the conversation about the system with him. So that's due February, I think they said, to start shipping.
March?
I had a look at the website. Might be February. Yeah, it might be February, March, and then it's going off to Salute as well. So.
Well, I can't wait to get it, because I know there's a lot of people who are very excited to see our opinion of it and get some Let's Plays going.
And then, of course, we've got Colin. Hopefully, they've sorted out the issue with the sculpts for his miniatures. Yeah. And then we've got Ultra Combat, haven't we? That's coming.
Which will be interesting to see what the difference are between the new sculptor and the old one, because I have some of the original sculpts for Ultra Combat. The Americans, I have both, actually, Americans and the Russians. So it'll be interesting to see what has changed in comparison-wise. So
yeah, it just seems that there's a lot more on the horizon from a point of view of Cold War gone hot, or the possible conflicts with Ultra Combat.
Yeah,
along that European east-west border. It just seems to be raising its head a lot more. Is that because of outside factors, or is it just people think it's an untapped area?
That's a good question.
That's moved in. I'm like Jim. I remember. I've still got sitting on a shelf out the back here and playing it in the late '80s, Twilight 2000.
Yeah.
Oh, that's yep.
So
that's a deep cut. That's going way back.
That's a yes. First edition as well, Jim.
Oh man.
Not second edition. It just seems that some of these gaming companies, especially the ones that are doing modern conflicts, are looking at what's untapped, what can we slot ourselves into to find something new.
Is it all based on the success of Team Yankee?
I don't think it's based on Team Yankee's success.
Okay, I don't know. I'm asking.
I don't think it's based on the success of Team Yankee. I don't know how successful Team Yankee was.
Well, it's all pretty much started since 2015, right? Yeah. November 2015 is when Team Yankee kind of rolled out. Mm-hmm. And before that, Cold War got hot pretty much. I mean, okay, Force on Force had a book for it back in, God knows when, but that was it. I don't remember seeing that much for it. In the 80s, it was big, because in the 80s, it was like,
Oh, yeah.
holy shit, this could actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
Team Yankee was a game in 1988 by GDW, part of their first battle series. They're not the first people to tackle this subject. The whole Tom Clancy, and then all of Tom Clancy's disciples, Larry Bond, Harold Coyle, all these other writers that's pretty much the birth of the techno thriller genre. But then it went away in the 90s and aughts, and then some point, like you guys are saying, you're totally right. In the middle of the teens, everyone's doing Cold War hot again. And I don't know much about the market, but the first one seemed to be Team Yankee, and then a little bit after that we see PSE with Northeg, and then we see these other titles come out. So I don't know.
And I mean this past week as well, there was a Kickstarter came out last year, which is right up Jim's alley because it's Hex Encounter. Storming the Gap, which was World at War 85. Which I've sent the rules through because you can get the rules free from Lock and Load Publishing, is the company behind it. Now I know, G, you've got some Lock and Load games as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I sure do.
And they did this basically Cold War gone hot, Storming the Gap thing. But what's interesting about their rule set, because it's based on Hex Encounters, on the cards, because it's for the unit cards, it's got the ranges in inches for the different scales of miniature.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
6, 10, 15, 20, and 28. I think 28's on there.
Nice.
So you could take the cards and the rules and then technically do it as a standard tabletop game.
Okay.
I think you may need still a hex layout for movement, but I'm not too sure. I haven't had a look. It was just something I noticed in there. The stuff when the Kickstarter hits and they showed examples and says this, and this. It was just something that was mentioned in there. And when you look at the unit card, you can actually see those ranges broken down for inches and things. So, it looks like this rule set could be used as a rule set for doing stuff with small scale miniatures.
Okay.
So is Storming the Gap more of a tactical game than an operational game? It would have to be if you can.
I think the units are it's not an individual unit. I haven't had a proper look at the rules yet, Jim. It came yesterday.
If it converts into miniatures, it's got to be some kind of tactical game or a miniature game with ranges. So it might be like a single miniature will be a platoon or command tactical.
That's what I think it is. What I've done is I've shared the rules with you. So the PDF rules that are free, I've linked. Okay. I've sent that to everybody so we can all, if you want to have a look at the rules and download them, they're free. Off their website. It's off the actual LMP website. You can get them for free. So it's in PDF format. So we can all have a look at it and see what people think. But
so for converting, because this is something that comes up a lot, for converting a Hex Encounter game to miniatures. I have a lot of great games. A lot of people want to play miniatures, so I've dipped my toe into this, mud puddle before. It's possible. It sounds very simple. It depends on the game that you're trying to convert, because a hex grid does basically three things in a game design. A hex grid, number one, handles range, which is the easy part. You put a number on the card, like Ruff was saying. It handles movement, which is usually pretty simple. You break out a ruler. Oh, like BattleTech does this. You can play that on hexes or in miniatures or both. That's like a hybrid game. You literally just take 1 inch per instead of 1 inch, it's 1 hex. Okay, whatever, or vice versa. Where it gets a little weird is hexes also manage facing and weapons arcs if that's part of your game. Yeah, and that's where BattleTech starts to fall down a little bit when you do it in pure miniature. And I don't know about Storming the Gap, but again, that's why I was asking about what level the game was.
I can tell you what level it is because I've got the rules open to the page. Unit scale. A counter represents infantry platoons of 40 to 60. A counter of infantry is between 40 and 60 men.
Yep.
Armored fighting vehicle platoons is 3 to 5. Perfect. So counter represents 3 to 5. Yeah. Artillery
pretty much Panzer leader. Now the reason I wanted to ask that is because, like I said, those 3 things that a hex grid manages. Once you get up into that platoon level, that facing matters a lot less. Because this isn't the American Revolution. When you put a platoon, 40 men in the field, they're not all facing the same direction.
Yeah.
So it's almost universal facing. Tanks tend to herringbone out into a little bit of a spread when you give them like a hex of ground to to occupy or defend or attack. So game design, and as far as like we were talking about, Ralph, porting this hex encounter game over to a miniature game, that just eliminated 95% of your problems.
Yeah.
Because that takes care. Facing and weapons arcs becomes a lot less important. A platoon can fire in a lot more directions than one tank can, and so facing doesn't really matter very much. And therefore, your hex grid to miniature conversion comes down to just range and movement, and that's literally a ruler or a tape measure. Boom, you're done.
Yes, because it's got a map scale because you got the hex maps in it, and the scale is 1 hex equals 150 meters.
Yep, exactly like Liberation Edition Panzerleader.
Yeah.
All right.
So
150 meters exactly.
So that's in the front of the rule, and then he's on about time scales as well. So each turn represents 5 to 15 meters.
So I want to just jump in here real quick. Skoback has put up a comment, and he says the only thing that worries him about Northag is PSC's ability to make all the units in 10mm for all the factions they will release. I am not familiar that well with PSC. Have they had production issues in the past? That is their concern?
Not that I've seen, but I think it's more the fact is getting the stuff out. I think they're quite slow. It's reacting and getting stuff out. I've noticed, they will have a release schedule, and you'll see things put up on their Facebook saying coming soon.
Yeah.
Because they've had some modern Russians they put up last year, but there's a limited modern on there, but there's a vast majority of their stuff on their website for World War II is huge.
Yeah. Well, they've been building up. So I've bought a lot of stuff off PSC, and they have a good supply chain. I literally ordered the wrong book, and I was able to get a real human being on the phone and switch my order, like right before shipment. It's whether, like to Skoback's point, is whether or not they have the stuff ready. I guess either from China or wherever the stuff is manufactured at. And as far as their very, very large their very, very large World War II availability or whatever, in 2 scales, they do mostly 15 and especially 72. PSC is mostly 20 mil, 1 to 72, from what I know. They've been building it up for years. So, like I was saying a second ago, I can't wait for them to get Germans or Americans. I'm hopeful, I'm waiting, but I'm not holding my breath because, to Skoback's point, that's going to take a while. As far as them rolling out something brand new, I don't know how long that's going to take. It's probably longer rather than shorter.
Okay.
Yeah, I think as well with Northtag is the fact that PS said that they'd written the Northtag rules and then they're going to possibly write the central, the rule set or the expansion for that. It'll be separate than, the Northtag rules. I think was what he was saying when he was on the podcast the last time.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. Like I said, I haven't had too much dealings with PSC, so.
I bought some Rubicon tanks for them for bolt action, and no issues, nothing, because they were the ones that were selling the 105 Shermans.
Okay.
That I wanted to put in my bolt action force.
So, I gotcha.
I think there seems to be a lot, and this is sort of another news issue that seems to be coming around this past week or so. Is there's been a lot of negativity towards some companies because they're not people aren't getting, shall we say, the response they expect, or the immediate response from
some people need to chill the heck out. I mean, I know exactly who you're talking about, Ralph, and these people got to understand these are not multi-billion-dollar corporations with hundreds of people working for them.
And it just irritates me that there seems to be this immediacy that people want.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's because the internet and the way that we communicate on social media and things is different the way that we used to communicate over phones and.
You mean like human beings?
Email. Yeah, even sending an email. I work in a university where we will send emails out to staff, and I will get a little frustrated because I'll get a reply back saying I'm not working at my office today. I'm working from home.
Yeah.
But I understand that if they're not there, they're not answering their email. That's fine as long as they can answer it within a time scale to allow me to do my job. That's fine. but it does become frustrating. But when you're dealing with a small gaming company or small gaming companies that don't have the resources to go, oh, I'll fix that straight away, or they're a small gaming company that say have some illnesses that is affecting,
Yeah.
You do not know what pressures outside of the industry that they're in they have on themselves to do stuff. And it just really did irritate me this past week when I saw the stuff.
Well, Skoback makes a good point. He says it's mostly restocking delays and the pace that they can get new models out that can be long. It is. Again, it comes back to it's a very small company. A lot of these are run out of their own garage or house or a very small, workspace. In the case of, let's use Spectre Miniatures because that's kind of who we're alluding to with some of these comments. Somebody made a comment about how they hadn't heard from anybody since their order, and you got to remember it's 2 people to do 99% of the work. Matt, who's the third partner, has a full-time job that travels around the world as an advisor, and he's the one who basically writes the rules. Steven is the sculptor, and you got Jess who helps with the business side. So it's those 2 people. And they learned that they couldn't keep up with resin production, so now they farmed that out to another company. So, there's a lot of ins and outs, so people, just be patient. Spectre has a good history of fulfilling your orders. They will fulfill it. Yes, it is frustrating when you go to the site when they say that it's been a restock and you go in there and everything's already sold out. I mean, it's got to say something for the company when they say restock and you go in there like 30 minutes later and everything's pretty much gone already. So... and people say, well, they should up their levels, so stock levels. Yes, but you got to remember, it costs them money on the back end for that stock. So, they only have so much limited capital they can work with. So
warehouse turns are not cheap.
Yeah. So, it's not like you pay for it, then they take their cut and send the money off to the company that manufactured. No, they pay for everything up front, and then they hope to recoup the cost when they sell the product to you at the end user. Yeah. So
that depends on their supply chain. If they have like a vendor managed inventory or something, then. But that brings up another point. I mean, maybe not with the small companies, but the bigger companies. A lot of this stuff is manufactured where? It's all manufactured in China.
Yeah.
And I don't want to throw too big of a shadow over the podcast here, but what happens when China gets shut down?
Yep.
Because of the friggin' virus.
Yeah.
We're already seeing, ships not being able to come in and out of China, travel being restricted in and out of China. When shipping in and out of China starts to get cut back, God forbid, I think we're going to have a lot bigger problems, given everything that China manufactures. We're going to have bigger problems than just plastic soldiers, but it's going to have a big impact on the industry as well. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping they get a handle on this soon, but at the same time, they might not.
Yeah.
Because of, the way things work over there.
Exactly. So, did you have something you want to say, Marty?
Well, I was just thinking that this might be an opportunity for manufacturers or small companies that are currently doing business and having their products made in China to move their operations, say, in North America.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I know there's a significant cost increase.
Yeah, that's the
for
problem.
the manufacturing
the cost of manufacturing.
But I think that maybe there's if somebody was set up right, that might be an opportunity for them to jump in and do something.
So I mean, it is tough. Hey Gaz, you still there?
Yep.
Don't talk so much, Gaz. Really, today. I mean, you've been.
He's painting.
Yeah, he's painting. Bob Ross is painting in the studio. Well, we're gonna wrap up the show here because one of us is actually playing games today. So he's got a time schedule he's got to meet. I want to thank everybody for a really great conversation today. And I want to thank the guys that actually jumped in impromptu on chat, Skoback and Gareth White and everybody, and thank you very much. So while I'm sitting here, and this was a great accidental find mistake. So here's what we're going to do for future recordings. We are going to stream our recording live exclusively to our Patreon subscribers the morning we record, so only our Patreon subscribers will hear it live, and they can jump in on the conversation, and then it will be recorded for release later in the week for everybody else. So just another little added benefit to our Patreon people. that you can jump in a conversation. I think that will be a nice, exciting thing as well. And as you may or may not have heard earlier, we had made the announcement we're going to broaden our scope and go outside of modern somewhat and look at other military wargaming. It has to be actual real-life scenarios or, past history. So, but no Tau, no Space Marines.
No fantasy
like
stuff.
No fantasy. It has to be historical-based. And I think
historical-based or, like, realistic, like near future.
Yeah.
But no other genres. Yeah, no.
Well, I was going to say, doesn't a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away count?
No. No, it does not.
History,
as much as I love Star Wars, no, it does not. No Star Wars, no Star Trek, no Robotech, nothing. So it has to have a real world life foundation to it.
It was real. I saw it on TV the other night.
Yeah, if it's on TV, it's real, right?
Right?
All right, guys. So we want to thank you. Make sure you check out our store. We're going to be upgrading our store because Marty yelled at me the other night and said that he couldn't find the sweatshirt to order, the SITREP hoodie that I was wearing. So we have to go in and... We got a lot of redesign. Our graphics artist guru needs a new logo for us that says SITREP Podcast Military War Gaming or something like that. We'll have to come up with something. And we will see you all. Gaz, are you planning on streaming any painting here in the...
Yes, tomorrow, 12 noon GMT.
Okay.
I'm going to be doing probably between sort of 3 and 4 hours, maybe a little longer.
Holy cow, you're really going for a marathon session.
Yeah, I wanted to sort of make up a bit of time, so to get just over the halfway point.
Okay.
Strangely enough, I got 13 figures, and I'm at 5, so 7 should just push me over the halfway.
All right, so cool. And then, Jim, are you gaming anything? You've got games today. Your Revolutionary War game.
Yeah, we're doing some American Revolution and Dark Star today. Tomorrow, I will be on Gaz's stream. I mean, I'll be in the discussion for Gaz's stream.
Awesome.
And yeah, but then we're not doing anything tomorrow game wise.
Okay. And then Marty and I are picking up Thursday. Tuesday night, I am working the streets of the big city of Aurora, so I won't be streaming. So I try and reserve like a Tuesday night because with us expanding our horizons, I can now do Ultimate General Civil War online. So I might do one of the battles from the Civil War online. So if you guys don't know Ultimate General, look it up. It's a great tactical game. It's not tactical, it's more strategy, honestly. Strategic game. This one obviously based on the American Civil War. So I really enjoy it. It's a good game. And until the next time, guys, thank you for joining us here at the command table for the SITREP podcast. Your home now for everything military wargaming. And we will see you soon. Take care.